let me introduce myself. I am basically, a full stack developer. Work, of course, this is, let's say, my part-time working that I, conduct the trainings here. But alongside with that, I work full-time for the MNC companies. So I have, like, of course, now this tech is outdated, but then I have now 10 plus years of experience working on, various technologies. I started my career working as a Java full stack developer, Java with Angular, but nowadays I am working as, full stack developer with having, React Native for application development. And then when it comes to backend, we have all, serverless technologies that we use from AWS, which is again Node.js based. And then products that we develop nowadays are, mainly for the chatbots, for the real time applications, where you get, a lot of traffic over there. So I contain a quite a lot of experience in developing the various applications for banking, insurance, and then telecom domain. In telecom domain, mainly mostly using the chatbot and solutions like Alexa, Google Assistant integration. I even worked as an architect on a couple of projects. That was all about me. Now, when it comes to full stack development, one has to learn some part of front end, some part of back end, and some part of database. Nowadays, the things are a little easy, because in the end, front end, back end, and even databases, all of that can be coded by using one single programming language. But then back then, even 10 year down the line, Node.js was not that popular, because it was anyway newbie in a market. So JavaScript was not used that much for the backend programming. And then also the databases were traditional databases, SQL databases. For that, one has to write the store procedures, or SQL queries. And then also there were all of these dedicated roles where people used to work on that. So nowadays, industry demand full stack developer who is at least expert in one of these three domain, at least front end or back end or database. He or she must be expert in one of this. And then they should know bare minimum of the rest of these two things. The reason behind that is because of cost pressure. Everybody wants to have one developer who can easily work on any of this part. And then things keeps changing, because all the day you do not get enough work only on front end or on back end or on database. So it is mix and match of or more or less combination. Sometimes you get a lot of work on front end, but then less on back end. Sometimes you get a lot of work on back end. So they want to a developer who can easily work based on whatever the work is available there. In the end, this deck is targeting also the non-IT background developers. That's why we keep talking on what is front end, what is back end, and what is database. So front end in the end is something that is visible to customer. And then when we say something visible, it can be visible either in a browser, it is maybe visible something in mobile phone, or maybe on tablet, or for that matter any electronic media where that content is displayed. And then that can be achieved by using different programming languages. When we call something which is called as browser, that is nothing but a special software that understands HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and that renders all of the content. And now good thing is that browser is becoming de facto standard for any electronic device which has internet and some display. And because of that, whatever you coded as a website can run on TV, can run on your desktops, can run on your mobiles, because in the end there is little browser app which is installed on all of those mediums. And this is why most of these things are unified. And then you have something which is visual working on your system. Then what is backend? In the end, you need some server which is handling the request coming from your front end. And then you need some logic to be processed, which, because you cannot throw everything on the client side. Everything cannot run inside the browser, everything cannot run on the application that you have designed that's supposed to run on mobile phone or even on desktops. You cannot run everything there. You might need to connect with database. You might need to process something, and that can be achieved by some backend programming language. And there are many such programming languages which runs on backend. Like there is Java, which is quite popular. There is even C Sharp, which is also quite popular. Nowadays even Python is also gaining the lot of popularity. So Python can be also used in backend to achieve something. And then even JavaScript can be used by using, let's say, this Node.js. And then there is even PHP. All of such programming languages can be used on a backend server to cater all these requests. Now we know that what is, let's say, front end, what is the back end, and how in general web application works is that in the end user have some sort of device. That device can be, let's say, mobile phone or PC or tablet or whatever, where some content is displayed. Now here if we talk about the let's say if we talk about the browser based applications, which are, let's say, web applications, then in that case some HTML, CSS and JavaScript is displayed on the device that user holds. And then let's say there are some elements, maybe there are some buttons, maybe there are some action element button that is telling that maybe this user that you see here, he or she is accessing the banking website and they want to see the current balance. And in order to do that, maybe that banking website has given this button which is saying, if you want to view the balance, you need to click on this button. So user has basically collected all this information based on the result that is displayed here. And then now user wants to basically see this information. And then what it does, it basically clicks on this particular button, and on that click of that button, one new request is, let's say, then created. And then that request is then sent to the backend server. And that with that request, now backend server knows that this is the user who wants to know the current balance. So it basically does some logic processing here. There are basically some if condition, for loops, some function calls. All of that thing is written either in PHP or in JavaScript or in Python or Java, or for that matter any backend programming language that you are using. So it is doing all that processing, and then in the end it understands I need to fetch all of that information from database. So it makes the call to database. Then database basically gives some information here, and then all of that information is then processed, and one final crisp answer is created, which is then in the end written back to the customer here, right? Which is nothing but called as response. And then with that, by using some front end programming language, let's say now in this case only JavaScript, by using that, now we updated this particular tile and we show whatever response is that. Maybe that user has 10K as a balance available, and then that 10K is then displayed here. And this happens very fast. But then in this entire thing, you need some HTML, CSS, JavaScript, which is nothing but a front end. You need some backend and some server, which is basically hosting all of that static information. Basically on very first call, you need to display that website, and then for all next subsequent call, you need to handle that request from the server, maybe connect to database, get all that fetched information and send it back. This is how in general entire web application works. Now good thing is that doesn't matter you are accessing it from desktop or from mobile phone. In the end all of that working remains same. This is how entire web application works. And then as a full stack developer, you have to then work on front end part, you have to then work on back end part, sometime on server part, and sometime on database as well. Now, coming to JavaScript. Basically, the good part of JavaScript is that this is anyway a programming language which is initially targeted or created to run in browsers, and then it basically helps you to create dynamic websites. Dynamic website means For an example, whatever we discussed in that case, that was not a static content. That was not just the content that is downloaded and displayed. Like for an example, Wikipedia. In that Wikipedia, if you open the page, information is not going to change. In the end, whatever you are viewing or seeing in the display is just an article that you need to read. But then in case of dynamic web application, you need to provide some action buttons. You need to collect some form information and submit it to backend, and all of that can be done or achieved by using JavaScript. Then of course, because of that, you get the enhanced experience, user experience, because you don't need to render the different pages every time. And then mm, best part about JavaScript is that it runs on client's hardware. That means all that content, all that JavaScript files are downloaded from server, and those are now running on your mobile phone or tablet or your PC, wherever customer is accessing your website. And then JavaScript is comparatively easy to learn than the other programming language. And then once, let's say, all this coding is done, your customer don't need to install anything extra, because nowadays browsers are by default are installed, and then that is running on almost all devices, on all operating systems, so you need not to worry about that. That is, let's say, the benefit of JavaScript. And then all of this things are achieved by JavaScript by doing some sort of event handling. Even by JavaScript you can do the validation, you can read, write, and modify the HTML, you can create some cookies, you can create some sessions, and then you can perform some Ajax calls. Now this Ajax call was simply some API call to get the balance or something like that. Now we are talking about becoming full stack developer. Then is JavaScript sufficient to become full stack developer? Let's try to understand. JavaScript can run on front end. So other programming languages like C++, Java, Ruby, and Python, they cannot literally work on front end right away. With Java you need to use Swing or AWT and create some desktop application in order to work on front end. Same applies with Ruby's and Python as well. In this case you need some third party packages to get some software developed which can work as a front end. Then when it comes to running it on backend, JavaScript run on backend, same as all other programming languages in this list are working on, can work on backend. Then does it work on mobile applications? Yes, almost all of that gets executed on mobile application, also on desktop. And then when it comes to the learning curve, these three programming languages are comparatively easy to learn, like JavaScript, Ruby, and Python. They are comparatively easy to learn. So this means JavaScript is giving you most of the things that you need to become full stack developer. So this means you learn only one programming language, you create your backend, you create your front end, you can even create mobile application, desktop application, and in the end, it is also easy to learn. So that's why you can become, let's say, full stack developer by sticking to JavaScript, or you can become full stack developer by learning Java. Java here can be used for backend application development. And then the thing is that it is not easy to learn. That means learning curve is big. If you are ready to spend, let's say, 2 3 months to learn, then one can become, let's say, Java full stack developer, of course. But then when you stick to JavaScript, within 1 month you can learn almost all of these things and can become full stack developer. Same applies with .NET and other backend programming languages which are out there. Then when it comes to now the advanced part of front end, there are a lot of frameworks which are created nowadays, and a lot of programming languages which are developed. So jQuery was quite popular back then, but it is almost already died, or at least dying technology. So everybody is now using either React or Angular or Vue. Now React is most popular framework out there. Then Angular is second most popular framework out there, and then there is Vue.js. Now Angular is used or preferred for portal like applications, applications where you have, like, for example, dashboards, or banking, let's say, domain application, where that is again another portal. So in such applications Angular is used. But then that does not means React is lacking somewhere. React can also be used. And then there is again personal choice preference, also the skill set available in company, by which they basically decides what to use. But then in the end, there are a lot of frameworks which are available now. There's even Servlet, Vue, all of other frameworks and libraries are available by which you can develop nice front end. But then in the end, React and Angular is quite popular along with Node.js as a backend. Let's try to understand what is that. So one of them is called as mean stack. So here, mean means, I mean, with this mean, you get, complete full stack. Mean, M stands for MongoDB database. So this is basically, database, which is no SQL database, a quite modern database, by which, you get JavaScript like a object, which you can easily access and, do certain operations, and also quite good for real-time applications. So when it comes to database, MongoDB is there. Then when it comes to running your server, so there is something which is called as Express, that basically creates your web application back there, as a server, and that hosts the code that is nothing but a JavaScript, which is then powered by Node.js runtime. I mean, of course, to run that JavaScript, let's say on front end you get browser, right? You can run that easily on a browser. But then on server, how you can run that? So Node.js is basically a runtime environment that executes that code on server. And then there is, let's say, Angular for front end. So this is, let's say, mean stack, right? And then if you want to learn something extra, let's say rest of this technology will remain same, and instead of Angular, now you can use React, and that is called as merge stack. Now here, instead of Angular, here React will come. In the end, we are replacing Angular with React, so that becomes merge stack. And now the one good part about this is that once you know JavaScript, you know how to operate database. Once you know JavaScript, you know how to create a server by using Express plus Node.js, right? In the end, Node.js is, let's say, consider just runtime, and on top of that, this is library. By using that, you can create some server, and then for front end, whatever the content is then displayed to customer, that can be managed, um, sending the request to backend, handling those button clicks and all of that, that can be managed either by using Angular or by using React. So let's talk a little bit more about Angular. Basically, Angular offers you all of these features. It provides you, dynamic binding, fast loading. It follows the MVC kind of a pattern. More on this we will learn in our, let's say, learning journey. But then this offers you, cross platform support. It is simple. It is also give you, enhanced speed and also good user experience. It uses something which is called a single page application. Almost all of these things are also applicable for React, provided the thing is that Angular is a framework. It provides you a lot many features compared to the React.js. But then React.js is using the concept which is called as virtual DOM, and it is a library. Again, that's why it is quite popular, because for having very big applications and having nice performance, so the React.js is preferred over Angular. And then there is something which is called a single page application. What it says, you download everything only once and then run it inside a browser itself. So if, let's say, typically any website is there, and then in that website usually you have something which is called as header section, then there is something which is called as some content section, and then in the end there is something which is called as footer section. Now, maybe here there are, maybe, let's say, small buttons which are saying I need one home page, I need one about us page, I need one contact us page. And then in order to keep this website look and feel same everywhere, header section remains same, footer section remains same, only content is that getting changed. On home page, maybe there is there are some images that you are displaying. Then there is some, let's say, articles or content that you want to display. But then when it comes to the about us page, maybe you want to show some portfolio, and then you want to show mission statement and something like that. But then when it comes to the contact us page, you may want to show some form which is collecting the information and then sending it to backend. In the end, header section remains same, footer section remains same, only this information is changing dynamically. So it says, you know only change that portion on the fly rather than downloading all of this. And that's why your application becomes really fast. That is, let's say, single page application. Again, we will learn it practically, we will learn it even theoretically in detail when we will have our sessions to learn all of this thing. Then it comes to Node.js. Node.js is, let's say, again, just runtime. Few people even call it as a programming language, but this is not another programming language. This is runtime wrapper by which you can run JavaScript code on a server. By using this, you can create some APIs which can be called by your mobile applications, desktop websites or applications, or even any other server. In the end, because of this, you create a whole new backend server. It uses single threaded, that's why it is quite lightweight, and it is cost friendly. You don't need giant servers running behind the scene to handle all of your requests. In the end, it is using only single thread, and it is using the concept of something which is called as callback and event loop, which is again provided by JavaScript itself. JavaScript in the end is single threaded programming language. All that requests which are coming here are dumped stack, and then whenever there is a response ready, it gives the callback and then tell, look, I read something from file system, I read something from database, now I have some response ready. I call this by using this callback, and then send that response back to customer. And because of that, you are using most of the you know threads and most of the memory and CPU cycles which are available there. And then that's why uh, the Node.js is preferred for real-time applications. For example, Ola, Uber for booking the cabs, or even fetching the dynamic content on the fly, or even for the chatbots where you want to process millions of transaction within some few seconds and produce the responses out of it. Booking websites, all of that nowadays are preferring Node.js based backends. Now, how it works, I mean, from coding point of view, creating server, it's really easy. Within these 5 steps, you can create a server. You use this express third party library, you create the object, you create first API, which is slash API, and you return some response. In this case, it's just hello world. And then you bind it to some particular port number, and that's it. Your server is up and ready. When somebody is hitting the localhost 3000, you get the hello world response out of the box. Within, let's say, 4 or 5 minutes, you create the your backend system. That fast it is. And then how it works internally, it uses event loop thread. Any question? Anything? Then I would not like to bore you, but then in the end, now the last thing is this database part. In the database, you get objects like this. So it is really easy to read and manipulate all of these objects in MongoDB. And then in the end, those are JSON database. And JSON is, let's say, something that JavaScript offers you, by which you can send the information to backend. And nowadays, REST APIs are using JSON proto data type to send that the information to server and get it back from server. And that's why you use same format in front end, in middleware, in database as well. And because of that, it is again easy to learn and easy to operate. Then fine, now we know by using mean stack or merge stack, we can develop web application, right? What about Android and iOS application? If you want to create Android and iOS application, then you can use frameworks like Ionic. By using all of these technologies that you learn, you can create nice Android and iOS based application using the Ionic framework. You can use Angular, or you can even use React JS or React Native, and then by that you can create the application. Again, the React Native is completely different. um, let's say alternative to Ionic. By using that, you can develop Android and iOS application. That means, once you learn React and then additionally React Native, you can also develop the applications for um, Android and iOS and even for Windows Phone. But then Windows Phone are almost, died. So Android and iOS applications can easily be built by using all of this. Um, and the good part of such frameworks is that you write one single code and then you create, build out of it. That means, same code that you have wrote, out of that you can create Android app or iOS app. Then fine. Now, by using, all of that technologies, we can create web application, we can create mobile applications, right? And then what about desktop application? Because sometimes you still need to create some desktop application. So using something which is called as Electron, you can wrap your code in Electron and create nice desktop applications. So in the end, doesn't matter whether you are developing the website using, let's say this Angular as a front end framework, or using React.js as a front end library, you can still use the Electron, wrap that thing, and then you can create the desktop application using the React. In the end, by using simply JavaScript and some frameworks, some, let's say, backend runtime environments, and then some additional libraries, it is sufficient nowadays to become full stack developer. Not really the full stack developer, but the developer who can create the web application, developer who can develop hybrid mobile applications or native applications using React Native, and then even desktop applications. That is the power of JavaScript. But then in the end, um, there are also additional backends available out there, which are, like, say, Java based backends, which are quite popular in banking system domain. So um, for the startup and for most of the projects, the mean or merge stack is getting preferred nowadays. But then still, Java is not dying. It still has its own share. Also .NET do have its own share. So if one has to become a full stack developer, then if they are ready to learn lot of new things and then spend lot of time, then they can choose, let's say, Java plus either Angular or React.js. In that case, they also have to learn JavaScript. They has to learn, in, let's say, Java, they has to learn core Java, the collection frameworks, and then um, Spring Boot based, those are, let's say, additional frameworks. And then to connect database, they need to learn frameworks such as Hibernate. um,
चालेल. हो, हो. हां,
yeah.
हां. काय म्हणत होता क्लॉकचं? हां, वर्ल्ड क्लॉकचं थांब ना जरा आता म्हणजे ते बोल. सर्च पण ऑप्शन द्यायचं का सर?
Yeah, so that is all about the full stack development journey here. So now, any questions? What exactly you are looking out of this course? Um, can you tell me? Do you have any doubts?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I didn't have relevant experience,
Hmm.
but I want to move on to IT industry.
Hmm.
Would you please give me the best solution?
Okay. I would say
I had,
stick to now.
excuse me, sir, once. Sir, I had learned till .NET and CPP I learned
Hmm.
at the end of my education.
Okay.
So, yeah, please, sir, please give me the best solution.
Okay. Very good. So you have learned .NET. In the end,
Yeah,
doesn't matter which programming language you use. Basic construct remains same. Like concept of class, object, using the
yeah,
if condition, for loops, and all of that remains same.
yeah, yeah.
Now, when it comes to applying those, either
Okay,
you apply them in front end, the
okay,
part which is visible, or you apply
okay,
them on a server, the part which is
okay,
not visible but still doing the some sort of operation, changing the
okay,
database and recording what user is doing,
okay,
right? In the end, you need to
yeah,
apply all of that concepts there. So
okay,
why JavaScript based frameworks are preferred? Because here you simply need to JavaScript, which will be then used to create front end applications, either using React or Angular, and or
okay,
even vanilla JavaScript project. And then same function concepts of creating the classes, callback, promises, everything will still be used creating backend. The only thing is that now in front end you use that code to display some buttons, display some
Okay.
images,
Yes.
and then on backend you use same code to call database, getting data, you know modifying something and returning something. That's why preferring JavaScript based stack development is good for non-IT background, because then in that
Yes.
case you have less to learn and more to apply.
Okay, sir.
No, and in full stack
Actually,
development, start with the really basics part, basics of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then we progress to advanced part. Yeah.
yes, sir. Actually, I have taken that PDF format also, the curriculum format
Okay.
for this full stack development course.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
yes, sir.
Then at
Yes, sir.
least we
It covers.
know.
I think it covers HTML, CSS, all the things. No.
Yes. Yes. It
Yes.
covers very basics of how exactly internet works, what is web browser, why
Yes.
HTML is there. All
Yes.
of those things we keep discussing and creating nice application. And in the end,
Yeah.
our approach is again, I mean, in the end, nobody is computer. They cannot remember
Yes.
each and every. And then in the
Yes.
end, you
Yes,
need
sir.
to use Google. In the end, you need
Yes.
to use
Yes, sir.
Google. You need to
Yes.
use some third-party frameworks. Now React is there. Later in future, maybe Servlet and other are getting popularity. Maybe they will replace React. Then we have to learn that. The thing is that this learning will keep, you know,
Yes.
ongoing.
Yes. It keeps goes on.
Exactly. And so that's why our approach is basically to you know referring the official documentation, um,
Yes.
googling it. Nowadays copy pasting is not a crime. The good thing is that because I mean even the AI frameworks are getting popularity, so copying pasting, getting the help from internet such as Stack Overflow, all of that things we will do. I mean in the end, even if you don't learn all of these things and become expert, but then you will learn how to create and design something by
Okay,
at
sir.
least taking the help of Google.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay, sir. Thank you. If anything, I will let you know, sir.
Sure.
Yes.
Anybody else? Any doubts?
Hello.
Yeah, Amit.
Yeah, I have one question. When we say full stack developer, then do we need to focus on, so for example, we will take .NET or Java. So, means do we need to focus on .NET and Java, and one of the scripting technology and DB, that is enough?
Yes, either let's say .NET or Java is sufficient. um, One of them, okay. But then when we say Java or .NET, Java or .NET alone is not sufficient, okay. Along with that, you will need to learn some frameworks. For example, with that .NET core, you get, let's say, a lot of other things to learn: how to create APIs, how to create server by using IIS, how to host them, how to secure them. And then there is also how to integrate this with MySQL database, or the SQL database that Microsoft offers. All of those that things are also needed, because until and unless you learn that, you are not able to create, let's say, the backend server application that can expose the APIs which can be called by your front end or mobile application. That's why
Okay.
learning curve is little extra. When it
Okay.
comes to Java, there is similar but openly available open source stacks or community. You need to learn core Java, where you have all the concept of classes. Oops, I mean that also applies same for C sharp there. And then once you learn that, by using that, you need to again rely on some frameworks such as Spring Boot. And then by using that, you can create then you need to learn Apache Tomcat. By using, you can create a server. And then you need to learn how to create the API. And then to dealing with the databases, you need to learn some persistence layer. This means you need to learn that. And then when it comes to front end, JavaScript is must. You need to learn JavaScript. You cannot escape that. Then you need to learn one modern framework or library, either Angular or React.
Okay.
And then basics of HTML, CSS, it's still there, because without that you cannot design any website or any form. So that means, with this, I mean, the Java backend nowadays, newbies are not preferring that. The only reason for that is, big learning curve, like that. I was saying, you need to spend minimum 3 months to learn all of that. But then this is really good in, let's say, long term, because you can get more packages. Initially, uh, you might have to struggle little, but then later in future, definitely you'll get more added benefits. Does that answer it?
Also, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, sorry.
Go on.
I have checked that there are in while doing the .NET stuff, there are many things like Xamarin Form, MAUI, and
Hmm.
Blazor. So that thing also we need to take care. Like you said, Web API,
Mm,
Web API code.
Xamarin and all of that is, let's say, anyway, needed for mobile application development. So you
Yes.
can, skip that. I mean, it is, let's say, if your organization, if your company asks you to, create Xamarin based mobile application, then in that case you can learn that and then use that. But then in
Mhm.
initial scope, creating website, securing them, dealing with databases, and then hosting it, that are the things you needed in backend, be it, let's say, JavaScript based backend, be it .NET
Mhm.
based or Java based. And then in front end, again, all of that I was showing, right? Ionic, React Native, um, Electron. Again, you don't need to learn that, but then you should know that, okay, there is something
Mhm.
similar to that Xamarin. There is there. So, with, let's say, little extra learning curve, I can create applications by using the technology stack that I have chose.
Okay, means I just have to focus on suppose .NET, then .NET plus scripting language and database operation or web API, something like that. So that
Correct.
is, if we focus on that one, then we can consider as full stack developer.
.NET full stack developer. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks. Understood.
Yeah. Yeah, Dhiraj. Go on.
So, Prashant, in this due course, what is the backend that we are learning?
Now, of course, here we are offering two backends. Of course, one can be, let's say, Java-based backend, but then for that, we will have to make sure that at least you are ready to learn it for upcoming 3 months, because we have to cover basics of
No,
Java.
Uh,
Then
I
there
took
is JavaScript.
.NET base.
You are
So,
.NET based. Okay.
so I want to go the path of .NET base because the market is more .NET base for the
Hmm.
backend.
Okay.
Uh, I don't see much of Java.
Hmm.
So, yeah, with .NET based backend.
Okay. So you want .NET based backend, and in front end, which framework or library you want to learn?
React.
React. Okay. Uh, may I ask you, Amit, what is your preference?
My preference is Angular or React, anything. Currently, I
Angular
am
or React?
learning Angular,
Hmm. Hmm.
so I will manage that. That's not a problem.
Okay. Thank you. So that means, you also prefer to have .NET in backend. Very good. Uh, so what about Amol? What you are looking?
So I am looking for the full stack developer. Actually,
Mhm.
I have experience in .NET technology, but last 4 or 5 months I am working as a Oracle and SQL. That's only.
Okay.
But nowadays, in my company, they have used React and Angular.
Hmm.
Also, database MongoDB and Postgre.
Hmm.
That's why I'm looking for the learn full stack developer.
Okay. Okay. And then backend in your company is still in .NET, or is it in
.NET
Node.js?
Core and Node.js.
Okay. .NET Core and Node.js.
Node.js.
Perfect. That means, at least we have majority of people who are looking for .NET.
So actually, basically, there are 2 3 modules. In
Mhm.
2 modules, they have used React, Node.js, and Postgre, and Mongo.
Mhm. Okay.
And one module they have used Angular, .NET Core, and Mongo.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Um, Good. And then I think all three of you held some experience working in .NET already, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't have any, but yeah, but
Okay.
I know higher order functions are the same if else with
Mhm.
clauses. I think it comes around that. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know how abstraction works on .NET, but apart from that, yeah, conceptually I have those, but
Okay.
uh, yeah, I can understand. I can catch it pretty quick.
Okay. Okay. Good. Uh, Siri, you mentioned that you learned uh, few things of .NET and C Sharp, right? Already?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Is it fine for you to stick with the .NET backend? Because I mean, initially learning curve will be a little
Yeah, yeah,
extra for you. Fine.
yeah, it's
Okay.
okay, sir. Not a problem.
Good. Okay.
But
Okay. Thanks
but
for.
I sir, but I didn't have relevant experience, sir.
No worries. No worries. We will start with very basics. Uh,
Okay.
so
I can catch up, sir. Not a problem. But experience is the
yeah,
only problem.
yeah, yeah. Only thing is that you will need to do more hands-on
Yes.
exercises compared to
Yes.
others because
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No issue.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
yeah, Amol, go on.
Uh, Sir, course duration and fee structure, and which technology you can cover in this full stack development.
Now, give me a couple of hours. What I will do, I mean, that's why I was asking, a lot of questions to all of you because the thing is that now we can, prepare the course content duration. Ideally, I mean, when we talk about, .NET or Java or any such, backend, we need, more time. A reason behind
Okay.
that is the good thing is that you have already seen these programming languages at least in
Yes.
your experience that those are completely different. I mean, that is not, let's say, one small scripting language that you learned, which is
Hmm.
again you are using on server side. um,
Yes.
Ideally, I mean, let's say in JavaScript full stack development stack, you once you learn JavaScript, the same is getting used in React or Angular and then in Node.js. And that's why, we can cover almost each and everything within 1 month. But then in this case, 1 month is not sufficient. Consider that 1 month will be needed only for, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, some responsive framework like Bootstrap, alternative to Bootstrap, what are available, how to use them. Then once we learn all of that, why that was not sufficient, why Angular and React is invented, and then we will learn React. Of course, we will stick to React. We will also do the comparative study between React and Angular, how different it is, and how both of them are evolving. And then we will, learn React. We will create couple of front end only projects, and
Okay.
that then you also need to practice. And then once that is done, we need to slightly move to backend again. With this, at least guarantee is that you learn one part. For an example, if you develop a lot of interest in front end, then you at least learn four different programming languages very well: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then one of this framework, Angular or React. And then playing around with the different frameworks, like for example, Bootstrap is there, Tailwind is there. There are few other like React Material is there, Angular also have their Material framework, by which you can create nice responsive websites. Once you learn all of that, then backend
Hmm.
is, let's say, not that big. In the end, in the backend, if you learn one thing, like for example, how to create one API, or maybe how to create first of all a table in a database and do create, read, update, delete operation, and then expose crude API, for example, four API endpoints which supports these four different methods, and then hosting them securely, exposing them on local system with certain host name, that is sufficient initially for backend. Because in the end, the same thing will keep changing. For example, if you have user database, you need crude operation for user. You have then contact database, you need again another API with all of that operations. So that means, on backend you don't need to learn much, but then when it comes to, .NET, first of all, here we will have to then focus on .NET Core, because that is the way that offers you, creating the APIs and exposing it outside. But then you need to first learn basics of C sharp, how to, create object function, how to, run these condition loops, how to do the setup. All of that is different than the JavaScript or the front end stack that we have seen. That's why we will need, let's say, another month or so. But then again, I am, trying to, let's say, create one proper course curriculum, what things we need to cover and how much time we would like to give. And then based on that, the organizer of this call can talk with you on the fees, duration, and then timing of this batch. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Fine. If there are no further questions, thanks for your time. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you.